happened in the 90s.
Matt was the fat kid, Steve was the black kid. Life wasn't always great, but you know what was? The 90s. Happened in the 90s. Yeah!
Oh, mama, don't feed me no bologna. I don't want no ham and cheese. I want something hot and hearty. I want a manwich, please.
Don't feed me no bologna.
Oh yeah, I want a manwich, please. No, I'm not talking turkey. I want a bigger deal. Don't feed me just a sandwich. I want a manwich meal.
Don't feed me no bologna.
Oh, I want a manwich meal.
Mama, don't feed me no bologna.
Oh yeah, I want a manwich meal.
I'm just trying to give you some light, my friend.
You're right, though. You know, when I can do it, it's going to be like when Creed does the cartwheel in The Office. I'm going to do one shitty chin up, and I'm going to, like, call you and just be like, Steve, I did it.
I'm going to be proud of you, too, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Hopefully I'm in your presence when I do. Maybe when I see you, I'll just get so excited. I'm just going to bust one out real quick. You know?
Matthew, I just want you to know that you are really special. Oh, I just want you to know that you are really
Speaking of just songs from out of nowhere, I was working out today, and for some reason R&B was just in the mix. I was listening to like a YouTube mix, and all of a sudden, this isn't a 90s thing, but it's a weird song, and I always thought it was a funny song. That Snoop Dogg song, like Sexual Eruption, when he did that little thing, you know.
That shit's sexy.
I mean, honestly, I want to talk shit about it because it's cheesy, but it actually works. And I had it was like a YouTube video, so like the music video was playing. I was like, this is great. This is it. And it's a good anthem. It's like it's a step-by-step instruction manual for a virgin, you know? Just kind of gives you some good tips.
The only thing that could make that song better is Nate Dogg being able to do that hook.
Oh God, that, you know, now I'm a little sad. Rest in peace, Nate Dogg. But I mean, put Nate Dogg on anything. He sang the Step by Step theme song. That shit would be fucking #1 seller for weeks, Steve.
Step by step, step by step. Step by step, step, step by step.
I got a big old booty.
Step by step.
They ain't about to get some dick.
Step by step. Step.
Fuck that little Mark ass trick. Because he's always on my dick. Dude, rest in peace, Nate Dogg. But anywho, sorry for probably disrespecting his memory with that awful interpretation. But, you know, Steve, we were talking about just Kevin Smith-ish stuff in general because we're covering one of his movies today. But, dude, I forgot like how much of a 90s G Kevin Smith was, because seeing the Mallrats, which we'll be talking about today, sort of made me, it just snapped some memories in, and I forgot not only about Mallrats and how much I love that movie. Remember the movie Dogma?
I remember all his movies. I mean,
Dogma was a fucking hitter, dude. And he's basically well, I don't want to. Ben Affleck was famous before he got involved with Kevin Smith, but I feel like Kevin Smith gave him a nice little push, you know?
He gave him a nice little push. And a little fun fact about Mr. Affleck. Him and Joey Lauren Adams were also in Dazed and Confused, who also featured Jeremy London's brother, Jason, who was dating Joey Lauren Adams' character in Dazed and Confused.
Well, another fun fact, Joey Lauren Adams and Ben Affleck were the main characters in another Kevin Smith movie called Chasing Amy, in which Jason Lee, who plays Brody in Mallrats, plays another guy. Forget what his name is, but it's like it's a weird romantic comedy because Ben Affleck falls in love with Joey Lauren Adams, and I think she's a lesbian. So it's like there's that. But then
Yeah.
they hook up. I don't remember everything, but I remember enjoying that. And I just also Kevin Smith, the Jason Lee Kevin Smith combination is a golden one, Steve. It's fucking
Hold
fantastic.
Banky and Holden.
Yeah, there we go. I do, but Chasing Amy, it was a low budget movie. It was just a little fucking weird romantic comedy, and it's another example of why Kevin Smith in the '90s. I mean, this guy is still around. He's famous. He's eclipsed. I'd even say his movie career at this point. He's just famous for being him. But dude, he was fucking nailing it in the '90s, dude.
Snooge to the fucking nooge.
Hell yeah, Sneegans.
Yo, from our home studio, it's Ricky and D. Now my man Rick
A serious burger lover.
is doing a blind taste test of McDonald's new McLean Deluxe sandwich.
Yo, man, the taste is going boom.
McDonald's is the only one with this 91% fat-free lean beef
Wait,
fat.
hold up. 91% fat free? Nah, man.
Straight
I don't
up.
believe that. The taste is kicking.
And it's a serious value. The new McLean Deluxe.
100% dead.
On taste.
On taste.
Word up.
McDonald's today.
Hey, boys and girls, this is Steve G and Mad G with Happened in the 90s, the show where we talk about what happened in the 90s. So get out your Ride of Chucky Downs and your Ghetto Boy tapes, because we've come a long, long way together through the hard times and the good. I've got to celebrate you, baby. I've got to praise you like I should.
I just want to move, Steve. I have some rhythm, you know.
Man, sit your ass down.
All right.
All right.
I was gonna get into it, man. I was like, yeah, you played it out too much.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. Today, my friend, we are talking about all things October 20th in the 9999.
Hmm.
Starting off in 1990, Howard Stern Show is having a special guest, Judy Tenuta. Gary wears a helmet that squirts liquid into his mouth whenever Howard pushes a button. Judy Tenuta stops by and appears as Roseanne Barr in a skit with Howard playing husband Tom Arnold, and Stuttering John interviews columnist Liz Smith.
And this now we've been watching this show a little bit since probably the last 10 episodes that started. We've seen a couple of these, and now
Yeah.
he's hitting his stride, and this show's getting insane, Steve. It's not going off the rails, but I mean, this shit is crazy. From back
Yeah,
to
maybe
from
not
the front
insane,
to the
but
back.
crazy. Yeah, like you might not admit it into the mental institution yet, but you might be collecting a check.
Fuck. Now, can you explain to me? Because I didn't look this up. I'm lazy. I'm slapping myself in the face. Judy Tenuta. Okay, I see her. She's I recognize her, but I don't know from what, Steve.
Judy Tenuta, she recently passed on October 6th of this year, and she was I would say an icon, stand-up comedian icon of the 90s and 80s. She was known for her whimsical and brash persona of the love goddess, mixing insult comedy, observational humor, self-promotion, and bawdy onstage antics. And throughout her career, Tenuta built a niche but devoted following, particularly among members of the LGBTQ community. And she wrote 2 comedy books and received 2 nominations for the Grammy Award for Best Comedy Album. You could say she was like a modern Tiny Tim of sorts, because she would come on stage accompanied with her accordion, and she would do songs as well as tell jokes.
Well, and here there's a lot of physical comedy, Steve. But first, I wanted to point out a couple things. One, this episode starts off with like this weird bulgy-eyed black kid, and
Yeah.
what was that all about? That was weird.
It's hey,
Yeah.
Howard wants to grab your attention.
I guess so. So we have that, but this show does feature one thing at the front of it. That is one of the reasons why I always enjoyed listening to Howard Stern when I was a kid. When he shits on the employees, his subordinates,
Yeah.
there's like a stage manager guy who I think's name is Larry in this. And he just must have just fucked up something that day, and he is centered into the crosshairs of Howard Stern, and he's getting shit upon really by everybody. You know,
Yeah.
it's cringy, and he's constantly being told to shut up. He is loud; you can hear him, and Howard's like, "Dude, fucking keep backing up. You're too close, dude. Get the fuck out of here, Larry."
Fuck
And I
off,
love
Larry. You smell like Gouda cheese.
Yeah, dude.
Again, we talk about how all three, Robin, Howard, and Gary, are sitting at the table dressed like Color Me Bad.
Yeah, I mean
Super
the
90s.
outfits this episode all around just look insane. I mean, Robin's got some crazy fucking like triangular jacket cat print combination. I mean, at one point though, she's made to like model a little bit, Steve, and there's
Yeah.
some juicy camera angles. And I gotta say, Robin quivers even now, just out of respect, but definitely back then could have gotten every last inch of it. You
Man,
know?
finer than goat hair, she is.
God damn. But yeah, I mean, Howard Stern, it's just strange, like the looks that people who came out of the 70s and 80s like cultivated for themselves and what was still acceptable like in the early 90s. It's like Howard Stern. I mean, he looks kind of like Joey Ramone, obviously, but he also looks like some guy that was in like Flaming Dragon, some hair metal like cover band in the 80s. You know, it's a wild
Rat.
look,
Yeah.
but it
The
works.
people who, it
Well,
works
maybe
for,
it's
I
the
mean,
power,
he's,
you know.
as they say, that he's got the face for radio.
I mean, he's got swag, Steve. That's, you know, he definitely has that, and people love coming on this show. So he shits on his subordinate Larry. They get to the mailbag because Steve, he's deluged with mail. He's got mail coming out his wazoo. Okay. And I
Yeah.
wish this would
He's
happen to
in-
us, but one guy's sending him $10 bills every fucking week. You know, I'd appreciate it.
And Gary is he's the producer of the show, right?
Yeah. Gary Bababooey Delabate.
Yeah.
Fucking yuck
And
mouth.
apparently he has an issue with gums or licking his teeth, and he can't help it. Look at those fucking
I
things.
mean,
They're
those
everywhere.
motherfuckers are hitting air. You can't keep them in your mouth, Steve. I mean, they're drying out. So, I mean, they make him fucking smile once really wide. It's like you could fucking like chop wood with those fucking things, Steve. He's got some like beaver teeth.
You make John Elway look normal, and like this because of that. Some guy, he's into engineering or whatever. He has a special helmet that he made for Gary to help him with his tooth licking problem, and you push a button, and it basically serves as like a mobile dentist chair.
Well,
You know, when
it's
they push
just
that
it's a
button,
mouth moistener, really. It's just to keep him nice and moist so that he doesn't have to lick those fucking yucky teeth, Steve. Because nobody wants to
actually
see that. I'd rather see this than, you know, he's fucking sitting there looking like Mr. Ed getting the peanut butter off his fucking mouth.
I actually envy his mouth. Like he's got some nice teeth.
He's got
Gary's
he's got big teeth, but I will say, like, in terms of what's there, it's not like it's some fucking, you know, gross country boy fucking dead tooth situation. He's obviously going to the dentist, so applaud him for that. But man,
well taken care of. Gotta give him that shit. I'm missing my side blinds, so that's
no,
why
me
I
too,
envy it.
Steve. All I got's the fronts.
Yeah,
I look good right now. If you open up this mouth, you know, if I have a steak, I gotta hope it fucking goes down clean because I'm not chewing that bitch. You know,
man, I feel your pain and hunger pain. But man, so they're fucking with Gary and his big teeth, and they're pushing the button, and the fucking fluoride water is just squirting in his mouth, and you know, it even has a reservoir.
See, but I do like that this guy came on with this device, and credit to him, he didn't fuck it up. He got in there. He wasn't like that guy that was trying to push the smoke out of his eye, and he just kept fucking it up. Remember that?
Yeah.
Whatever that
At
guy's
least, Well, that guy, he ended up dying. He was yeah, he got arrested for peddling or diddling kids.
Well, there's gonna be you're dealing with crazy people. There's gonna be a few that go beyond that line. But this guy, clearly he went to school. He figured out at least this much. So if you ever have a special kid with some fucking dry ass teeth, fucking call that guy up. He might still be alive. And this thing works, Steven. Howard's got the button. Click that button, moisten them teeth. And we get to see this off and on. I think at one point they mix a Snapple ad with this and put a little Snapple in that bitch and have it spray him some Snapple, which, that'd be kind of cool.
I miss old Snapple. It just don't hit the same.
Dude, honestly, this one too, they feature Grape Aid, which is the only, that's that real that nobody knows about because it's not around anymore. Probably is why I had leukemia, honestly. I drank so much of that shit, but it was good and it was worth it.
If you know, you know. And Judy Tenuta, she comes out dressed like Macho Man Mandana. And
dude, it's weird, bro.
It's like weird. A booby tassel get up like Madonna, but at the same time, it's very tasseled looking and very like majestic, like Randy Savage.
It's a lot of layers because you're right. She has like the Madonna titty thing, and it kind of like hits the midriff, but then she has some other shit on. And it's wacky. Topsy Turvy is gonna come on and shit all over it, and she might have some points because Judy Tenuta's out here looking like some kind of sexy bumblebee tit lady. It's crazy.
And as you mentioned earlier, Howard wastes no time. He is just fondling her like from the jump, hands all over. Hurry up, take your pants off. Take her bottom.
Let me see that. Let me show. I mean, he's pulling. I think he like claws her shirt off a little bit.
He claws her titty. Full palm on titty.
Well, dude, you're coming on the Howard Stern show. They've signed a waiver. It's like you're gonna get fondled. Okay, so sign this. And here's some Kleenex because you might be crying.
Do you mind if he touches your titties a little bit? Only for half a second.
She's into it though, and even Robin said, I mean, she's like, it sounds like you kind of want to get with this girl, and he's like, she could probably get it. So she comes out, she's looking, like you said, insane. But they start, they have a good rapport. They're obviously friendly because obviously he's into her. There's some weird vibe going on.
Yeah, he probably fucked.
Yeah, it looked like maybe they were about to. That's the vibe I got, where it was like it hadn't happened yet, but it was like she came on and it's like they were gonna leave this and go fucking bang somewhere. And he's getting a little handsy. And they plug. She has a special coming out. So one thing, you got to plug the special. It's on Showtime, but Howard doesn't like to say Showtime. It's like he keeps saying HBO. And even when he's told it's wrong, he's like, yeah, you don't want to be on that shit. You want to be on HBO, right? And she's like, well, this one's on Showtime. So I think still.
Yeah, but Showtime's like watered down HBO, and that's the one you really want to be on. Fuck Showtime.
Dude, it's fucking hilarious.
But he gets on her fucking get up. Like he even says something about that, like, who's your designer? He should be hiding. But out comes this Asian guy, and he just comes out for a split second. He's just like, well, what you got problem? What you got problem with me? And
I think he shits on Howard Stern too. He's like, man, fucking look at you.
Yeah, but his whole fucking, he's got like a rat tail with a flat top. It's very just off-putting.
He had a members only jacket on. I mean, he had a wild look. And obviously that makes sense because he dressed Judy Tenuta with his psychotic fucking fashion sense. So,
and the guy's name is Rich Kiamko, and I guess he was on an episode or maybe a couple episodes of Queer Eye. So there's that.
Okay, well, this that's crazy that he wasn't just some lunatic that we saw in this one show. He was actually like a legitimate expert in the field, I guess. Even looking at that outfit, that made sense.
It didn't stop him from being and looking hilarious though. Just like, wow, what you doing?
Yeah, dude. He did some like weird fucking karate shit.
When he walked off, yeah. Because like Howard said, he's like, yeah, that's somebody. What is it? That's someone's son or some shit like that. And then he was just like, oh.
Dude, this is why this show is so fucking wild. But anywho, the other funny thing about this is there's all these like built-in ads. So now instead of Snapple, they got like a fax machine, which is insane that a fax machine company wanted to do ads on Howard Stern. It's hilarious.
Brother. Yeah,
brother.
Brother facts.
You probably have bought some of their ink cartridges because they're still around. But back then, they were hawking fax machines on the Howard Stern show. And, you know, Howard says we had to get some models. He even asked, he asked for people to send in shots to be a model on the show, but he has one now. And she comes out and she's a voluptuous lady, Steve.
Topsy turvy, they call her. Oopsie daisy. And like in no time, her and Judy Tenuta get into like a snap match. And Judy at one point said, I don't want to breastfeed Guatemala. Talking about them big ass memories on top of fucking whoopsie
Are
daisy.
those real? Yeah, they're real, honey. A fucking piece of shit. She's a fucking from Boston too. So Howard shits on that because she sounds hilarious. And yeah, I mean, it almost becomes an all-out brawl. And I gotta say, Judy Tenuta's got some fucking balls on her because Topsy Turvy would have whooped the fucking piss out of her. She was like 5 times the size of her. It was wild.
Her titties were 5 sizes times.
I mean, she could have just dropped a titty on her real quick and it would have been over. And I would have loved that. Throw more.
I don't want to breastfeed Guatemala.
What is it? And eventually Topsy Turvy says, fuck you, you fucking garbage, and just leaves. Yeah. She says, I've had it. I'm out. So Dusty he has to repeat the commercial because it became such a thing. He's like, look, we got a call from Brothers. We got to redo this fucking thing because it went off the rails. Sorry about that.
We're brothers. We're faxing and we're singing and we're coloring.
But this leads great in. There's a lot of shit going on. People are agitated. And another thing that's grinding Howard's gears is apparently Roseanne and Tom Arnold went out there and were talking some mess about Howard Stern, Steve.
That would grind my gears, shake my dick in the fucking National Enquirer. And like before TMZ, before E! News, before Ryan Seacrest and all of that metrosexualness, we had fucking National Enquirer. And somebody talks shit about you in the National Enquirer. That was the equivalent of 50 Cent gang beef. Like, get the fuck out of here. Who the fuck? Oh, and that's why Howard was on fucking 11.
That is like, it. I maybe just found out, but yeah. So he's like, you know what? He says a couple of things, and this leads into something where he's doing a sketch, Steve, with Judy Tenuta, and it's Roseanne.
Roseanne at home.
And this is a bizarre thing, Steve. This is like something that a 9th grader could have come up with just a little bit of time. The makeup's hilarious. The acting is hilarious. It's
the makeup is hilarious.
If I was on acid and watched this, I'd have a freak out because it's really bizarre. It's on a Tim and Eric level of comedy, really.
Because Judy Tenuta, they're both like, this is Howard, it's Tom Arnold, and Judy Tenuta, like the face makeup is just so surreal.
And it's coming off. If you notice in some of the close-up shots, like you can kind of see it on the bottom, but it's just like cracking off and shit.
But because they're out of control.
Like being fat. And Roseanne's like, oh God, Dan, I love you. You're hot. And Howard Stern as what is his name? It's not
Glom Arnold.
Glom Arnold, that's what it is. It's Roseanne and Glom Arnold. So he's just being weird, Steve. And that's all I can really say. And basically the gist of the skit is he's Glom Arnold. He's glommed onto Roseanne. And now he's talking to the National Enquirer and taping her eat He's trying to get her like naked, like get a sex tape. He's just being a scumbag, which everybody thought was the case. And really, I don't know how far off we were at that point. You know, I don't think.
And every time she has a bowel movement, she goes to the restroom. And Tom Arnold, he's like, I got pictures of that big fat slob eating food in every position. How much would you pay? How much would you pay to see pictures of Roseanne eating on the can?
Yeah, dude. Yeah, and he's constantly like, yeah, it's
Doing
really
these close-ups, and it's just like it's hilarious though, but kind of creepy.
It's definitely creepy, but it's funny. It goes on about 3 minutes too long because it's a long sketch, Steve. It's a lot of
Yeah.
eating, it's a lot of makeup coming off, them laughing, them trying to fake kiss, them kissing for real. And you can hear Jackie laughing his ass off in the background too, which I find hilarious. Yeah, dude, you can just hear people dying laughing. And I love a good beef, Steve. We all love good beefs. This is a 90s beef I didn't really know about. Howard Stern versus fucking Roseanne and fucking Tom Arnold. Who knew?
Oh, Howard had his fair share of beats in the 90s, man.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and so after they do the Brother Fax Machine, they do the Robin little Ken Burns portrait segment, whatever the fuck it was, Brick House Robin. They do some kind of Photoshop with Reverend Al Sharpton, and they place his face on different heads to see what kind of like haircut he should try out next. They put his face on Buckwheat. They put his face on Farrah Fawcett. They put his face on Elvis, Larry from the Three Stooges, Howard Stern himself, and one of their producers.
That was hilarious. They start off by eating Purina cat chow because I believe there was a woman named Marianne Hartley, and in a book admitted she ate Purina cat chow during some sort of maybe bulimia episode, something happening.
That's
So
right. Yeah.
so they eat that. That's weird. They have a laugh about that. And they do another bit about Two Live Crew going to court for the obscenity charge in Florida, and they sort of make fun of Luther and that whole situation too. And that was pretty funny. But you know, Howard Stern border has these. He treads that racism line. You know, I don't even know if he's treading it, but there's a lot of weird jokes that just don't play anymore. Let's say
Habitual
that.
line stepper he was.
Yeah, exactly. He is. But this whole this show that we're seeing is really what made the E show great. I feel like they took this and they were like,
Yeah.
we're gonna tailor this a little bit, simplify it, but this is gonna be it. Because I mean, this is really what the show ended up being that I remember, you know.
Yeah. And they also do an update on the gymnast from way back in the day, Nadia Comaneci, and they see how she's looking now, and it's not great because she has these Anthony Davis eyebrows. She's got these Bert and Ernie fucking furrowed brows, and it's just like, damn, you might as well be in the fucking KGB.
I was about to say she looks like Putin's fucking one of his bodyguard bitches. You know, she looks tough. There was a Kick-Ass
Yes,
2. There was a chick named Mother Russia in that movie that was just like a yoked fucking Russian bitch, and that's what she looked like, Steve. She's gonna fucking do some weightlifting in the snow or some shit. There's something crazy going on. I mean, I don't know,
And
with a name like Nadia Comaneci, I don't know what you fucking even expect. You know, she's wrestling like grizzly bears in the Arctic tundra and shit.
for real with Nikola Jokic. And now we got Stuttering John. He's sitting at the table, and they have a segment featured on Stuttering John asking for more money. And this is somewhat of a foreshadowing for years later, because he would famously leave Howard Stern's show to get a job with Jay Leno on the Tonight Show. Today in news. And you know, they go to his interview segment, and he's interviewing columnist Liz Smith, who's at the Ronald McDonald House, and he's just like, does Daily News pay you in money or French fries?
That bitch plays him too because he can't get it out. And she's like, "What? Hamburgers? Jesus, fucking
Yeah.
today, Junior."
One
Fuck.
day.
But I mean, And they even say it. They're like, we kind of went over the line here, bud. And he gets a couple of ones out, and then he's like, why are you such a fat cow? And like, damn, dude, what the fuck?
Yeah.
But I gotta say, Liz Smith, really, she could have slapped the shit out of him. She's got a sense of humor, Steve. She doesn't do anything crazy.
And they chastise him back at the Howard plant. And Howard's like, man, that's somebody's grandma. That's Dr. Joyce Brothers' grandma, actually.
Because I think this chick actually did say some shit about Howard Stern. I think they mentioned that was like one of Stuttering John's things. He's like, she was talking shit. Exactly. And he does mention that the legend Andrew Dice Clay sort of gave him some instruction or gave him a question. It might have been, why are you such a fat cow? But I love that. And one other funny thing. So that's basically it. The episode ends. But if you stay on the episode and watched it to the end, when Liz Smith leaves, a big fat Al Roker is right behind her, looking like he was trying to hide behind her because he knew Howard Stern's camera crew was there. Because even Howard Stuttering John's like, "What's up, Al?"
Yeah, he didn't want Howard asking what's it like in his neck of the woods.
I mean, they just asked a woman, "Why are you such a fat cow?" What are they going to say to Al Roker at that point? You know, I mean, fuck.
Who can bring together people everywhere? Oh yeah. Who can put a handful of magic in M&M's can.
Every day across America, people share a smile with M&M's.
M&M's can. Oh, M&M's can.
The milk chocolate melts in your mouth, not in your hand.
So have a handful of smiles.
Somebody who probably didn't watch that episode of Howard Stern Show in 1990, probably the Cincinnati Reds, because they beat the Oakland A's 2-1 at Oakland Alameda County Coliseum to sweep Oakland and win the Reds' 5th title. The MVP is Reds pitcher Jose Rio.
Don't know much about the actual Cincinnati Reds, Steve, but in Little League in Perrysburg, I played on the Cincinnati Reds. So solidarity, guys. I was right there with you.
They were on a tear that year, man. Like never to be seen in the World Series again since then. But they had a pitching crew who went by the nickname the Nasty Boys.
I mean, I love that. I don't love the Nasty Boys, the wrestlers, but any other use of that, great.
Yeah, never Brian Knobs and Jerry Sags. Never,
dude.
Ever.
Fuck all that. Fuck all that growth. I don't know, Steve. It just never hit me. But shout out to the Cincinnati Nasty Boys.
Yeah, man. I believe the last championship that city has ever seen. But in 1992, October 20th, Kenny G releases his album Breathless. And the reason I'm bringing that up is because Kenny is a fucking G and he should be treated as such. And I'm sick of the shitting on Kenny G. I have to protect the G's in the name of G, the Warren G's, the Kenny G's, the Matt G's, and the Steve G's. God damn it, real motherfucking G's.
I have nothing to say about them, man. I mean, you could fuck for hours to this man's music. Just that subtle jazz, Steve.
Thank you. That's what I've been trying to tell them.
Is that what he plays? What is it? He's doing something there with, I don't know what the instrument is, but he's moistening a lot of panties. Let's put it like that, Steve.
He played heartstrings. That's what the fuck he played. And with pussy holes. Heartstrings and pussy holes. And like he had features from Aaron Neville on this album. They're only one of the few dudes who can do that falsetto shit with the mole on the eyebrow with the tight ass jeans. Maybe that's his fucking secret. Tight ass jeans. And Peebo Bryson from fucking Aladdin and shit. A whole new world. God damn it. Was that Beauty and the Beast? It was one of those fucking things.
I feel like if people want to talk shit about Kenny G, and that's fine. But I bet
No,
go
it's
to
not.
this man's house and tell me he's not living in some lap of luxury mansion someplace on the side of a mountain, maybe covered in 10 to 15 women at one time, getting fed food, playing a jazz clarinet, and just probably counting money and fucking women constantly. He needs to take a break every once in a while just to fucking relax.
Man, I am so sick of the fucking Kenny G slander. Oh my goodness.
Sick of the fucking naysaying bullshit, Steve. All the haters out there of the any. If you hate Kenny G, just get out of here. Get
Because
out.
you
You're
hate
not an
yourself.
American.
You really do. You really like this album, Breathless. It sold diamond. That shit, it sold over 12. It beat diamond. It's 10 million to qualify for diamond. This motherfucker then sold 12 million plus.
And this isn't even limited to this age group, but I'm just saying here's a dream scenario for me, Steve. I'm obviously married, but you know, candlelight. Maybe a woman that's early to mid 40s. Kenny G. We're both naked. Yada yada yada. You know what I'm saying? Like a little MILF action, and that's really where Kenny's gonna really hit hardest. You're gonna have some fun times with a MILF. Kenny's gonna be on in the background, and forever he's gonna be connected to some just great sex.
How much time do we have?
Enough time to 69.
Just like Don Knotts.
Oh, hello, Mayberry.
Really, I think that's really what we need to just broadcast here.
The man plays saxophone. They need to call it sexy phone when he's playing that
because
motherfucker.
it was different, Steve. It wasn't that fucking Bill Clinton shit. It wasn't the guy from fucking the nightclub band. This was that straight fucking it's like the Pied Piper shit, except it ain't snakes and it ain't some creepy R. Kelly shit. It's middle-aged fucking women just ready to fuck.
They're crawling with their panties off. Man, but also
Is that Kenny
1992.
G?
Hell yeah. The bat symbol has been fucking alarmed. But also in 1992, October 20th, Madonna releases her album, Erotica. Songwriter Madonna releases her fifth studio album, which became one of her most controversial albums to date due to overtly sexual content. And I listened to this album, Matt, and it made me angry and erotica.
Okay, so you didn't get boned up on. This isn't a sexual thing for you. This is something else.
What I'm trying to tell you is this. If I was Doc Brown and if I saw this bitch on December 31st, 1989, I would tell her like, hey, I got the fucking DeLorean gassed up with a rebuilt engine, bitch. We can go back to 80s. We can relive this 80s thing if you want to. And trust me, you're going to want to. Because while I'm listening to this and playing 2K, it hit me, Matt. It just fucking hit me. What kept her relevant in the 90s is the extra fluff, the fanfare. Oh, she cussed on David Letterman. Oh, she fucking showing her titty. Where's the hits, bitch? The last I checked, you were a musician, artist, music artist. Where are the fucking hits? Oh, she's dating Dennis Rodman. Oh, that's great. Fucking applaud you. Where are the fucking hits? Oh,
she has a weird English accent now. That's weird. Let's talk about her.
She's doing the Kabbalah, whatever the fuck. That's the Mortal Kombat shit, whatever. Great. Fucking, I'm sure your grandparents are proud. Where are the fucking hits? That was all throughout the 90s.
That is interesting because she went into the 90s like she's famous. I mean, she's still fucking famous. We all know Madonna, but yeah, I mean, it was really just like a bunch of PR stunts and shit.
Yeah.
That's fine. Hey, you locked in, Steve. Now we got to find some. Who's next? Let's get her in there. But I mean, I will say, I mean, Madonna can still she can get it. Maybe not now. I don't know now, but then, yes, definitely.
Yeah, maybe not Smeagol action. No.
Smeagol action. Yeah. Man, we're getting into that age now where just like our heroes, it's starting to get grim, Steve. It's really starting to get grim.
But in 1992, that same day, the first baseball World Series game is played outside the United States. The Toronto Blue Jays beat the Atlanta Braves 3-2 in Game 3 at the Sky Dome in Toronto, Ontario.
Let me pull a name out because I think of the Toronto Blue Jays. What is the guy's name?
Fred Carter.
Dave Winfield?
Dave Winfield.
Maybe not.
For the Blue, I know he played for the Yankees.
I think he's on the Blue Jays, but anywho. Blue Jays had they had the coolest logo back in the. I always wanted some Blue Jays shit. I like the logo, but you ain't just keep the fucking World Series in the USA, Steve. Toronto, what are you thinking?
Hey, man, the U.S. tried. But in 1993, the highest scoring, longest selling, or the longest lasting World Series game is held. Toronto Blue Jays, again, they score 6 runs in the 8th inning to defeat the Philadelphia Phillies 15-14 in a 4-hour and 14-minute slugfest at Veterans Stadium.
4 hour, well.
And they would win that World Series that year, the Blue Jays. They went back to back.
Man, I don't remember that. That's crazy. They had a guy, maybe a Jerry curl or something. I'm picturing this guy. But maybe I'm just picturing Eazy-E and a fucking Toronto Blue Jays. I don't know. But I think they had a guy with a fucking Jerry curl, and apparently they were winning fucking World Series. And I didn't remember that. So thanks, Steve.
I mean, it's a safe bet. Somebody on an early 90s MLB team had some kind of S curl, Jerry curl, Dominique Wilkins, something.
It's a lot. Yeah, there was definitely that out there. And, you know, salute if you could do it. But you know what, Steve? My thing, 4-hour baseball game, that seems like a nightmare to me. You know, there's a lot of pissing you want to do. That's a nightmare. But at least it was a World Series game, right? So I guess if it's going to be 4 hours, you want it to be that.
Yeah, that's an operator's nightmare, man. But in 1985, Get Shorty premiered in theaters. A mobster travels to Hollywood to collect a debt and discovers that the movie business is much the same as his current job. Directed by Barry Sonnenfeld, starring John Travolta, Gene Hackman, Rene Russo, Danny DeVito, Delroy Lindo, James Gandolfini, and Dennis Farina.
There's a lot of 90s hitters in this. And I got to say, Steve, I have never seen this movie in full. I've seen bits and pieces. I've seen the sequel that sucks with The Rock in it and shit. It's not good.
Yeah.
But I remember this being a thing. I think people really fucking dug this movie. Obviously, it got a sequel, so most definitely. But Danny DeVito in it, Farina, I'm in.
It's on my bucket list because I've never seen it either. But like you said, it's got some hitters on it and people I fuck with heavily. But on that same day in '95, Mallrats premiered in theaters. Both dumped by their girlfriends. 2 best friends seek refuge in the local mall. Directed by Kevin Smith, starring Shannon Doherty, Jeremy London, Jason Lee, Claire Farlani, Ben Affleck, Priscilla Barnes, and Michael Rooker.
And this was Kevin Smith. He got his money. He made Clerks. It became this big, pretty big thing. He became a name, and Universal gave him a shot to make like a studio movie. And in reading this, I was not aware of this. And to be honest with you, when the movie first came out, I wasn't even aware of Kevin Smith, really. I kind of came in a little bit later. I wasn't like right in with everybody when Clerks came out.
Okay.
But, people seem to shit on this or say it's not one of his best. And to me, I love Clerks. I love all of it. I like a lot of his movies, but my 2 favorites, Dogma is my favorite, and Mallrats is a close second.
Hey, I got to go with the original, Clerks, and then probably Mallrat.
But this was a movie. Me and my buddy Ben in my neighbor in Oakmont, we used to hang out. He was one of my neighborhood buddies. We must have watched this movie 1,000 times. And then one of my good unexpected buddies, Pat Langendorfer. Shout out Pat Langendorfer. I haven't talked to that guy in forever.
Thank you.
We hung out like the summer directly after we graduated high school a lot. And one thing we bonded over was Kevin Smith. And in remembering that, we kind of talked about this pre-tape. Mallrats, there's a lot of different versions of this. And me and Langendorfer, he had like a version of Clerks. There's like this extended cut of Clerks. And that's kind of one of the things that we bonded over was watching that shit. And I guess Kevin Smith was just doing that. He's like, fuck it. Here's 5 versions of my movie,
And what I didn't know was Jay was actually going to be replaced by Seth Green. He was Seth Green was on standby because this was one of those studio meddling kind of deals. And by all accounts, to anyone that the executives asked, they were like, "No, Jason Mewes is the only guy we should be having."
Well, I mean, it's his
Luckily,
buddy, you know? They're
exactly,
friends. This wasn't like a mod or something made. Like this, he wrote this part for Jay because he knew Jay. And that's,
exactly. You can't recreate that kind of chemistry.
and I think honestly, that's one of the things that endeared. It's endearing. I don't think it's one of the things that endeared him. It's just like the quality of his movies. But it's like a family affair with this guy. He wrote Jay. He's in his movies. They're childhood friends. And like Walt, you hear the name Walt Flanagan. You hear like see these guys that I think were in his show Comic Book Men, but he has brought his friends along for the ride and put them in movies and made them part of like his cinematic universe and stuff. And I mean, that's like the dream.
That's you can't wait to put your homies on. Ask
That's
Adam
it.
Sandler. Shit, when I get on, shit, watch, bro. I got motherfuckers already
I
got
hope,
lined up.
please. Same to
Hell
you.
yeah.
But that's another thing. It's just like he's become famous for being himself, and it really is. He's just like a cool, nice guy, and he's a great fucking storyteller. Whether it's a movie or it's him just on stage telling weird Hollywood stories or about his life, he's fucking entertaining. You know.
Yeah.
But Mallrats, this was his second movie. It's starring Jason Lee, Jeremy London, who I don't really remember too much, but this was like really when Jason Lee was popping off. And I got it. Maybe Kevin Smith is really one of the reasons he popped off so fucking hard because
Yeah.
it's like, it's just a perfect pairing. He can deliver those lines. It's like Sam Jackson in a Quentin Tarantino movie. It's almost like
Pretty
it
much.
was meant to be, you know?
And Jeremy London, we didn't he wasn't in anything either of us really watched. He was in Party of Five, I believe. He was in Seventh Heaven. So he was in shit like that in other little Hallmarkish kind of fucking bullshit movies. But like the man has been getting work. I checked his N dubs. But
He's
his
a sexy
brother,
guy, you know? He's a sexy,
he's got
just
the
like one
look.
of those guys.
He can find work in Hollywood, exactly. And but one of my favorite unsung heroes is Willem, played by Ethan Suplee. And this dude is a fucking veteran. We obviously remember him from Boy Meets World. He was the guy whose dad was Big Van Vader for
Hell
one
yeah.
episode, which is pretty cool. And he played like the guy that you see behind me with the fucking wool hat. He played that same character just about in Boy Meets World, but in high school. And he was in Remember the Titans. He's lost weight over time.
Oh, dude,
And
have you seen him now? Have you seen Ethan
yeah,
Suplee now? This
exactly.
dude is jacked city now, dude. It's crazy.
And he's still getting work. He's found his way, man, to stay relevant, stay healthy. And I mean, shout out to Ethan Suplee, man, because he's a legend of the 90s.
He has some
like
great comedic moments in this movie. Like when he calls that kid a dumb bastard, like to their
Dumb
face.
bastard.
I'll never not laugh at that shit. He's fucking great. And I will say he's just a great actor because he'll be in shit like what you just said. And then he'll play a white supremacist in American History X and still kill it, you know?
Also happened in the 90s.
Hell yeah.
And he was in that movie Bulgar we watched. Remember that shit?
Oh, it's a Kevin Smith movie.
He was the guy.
Not Kevin Smith. It's Scott Mosier. It's his producing partner who actually plays a little role in this. That's hilarious at the end. But yeah, dude, that movie. That's one of those where you're just like, this did not need to get made. This is crazy.
Can I fuck him now, Daddy? What was the shit he kept saying? Can I fuck him, Daddy?
I think I blocked that shit out like a molestation, Steve. It was insane.
Beyond weird. But his intro scene when he's staring at the magic eye chart, he's what's his name? Brody runs into him. He's like, "Hey, what's up? Didn't you kill the Pope or something?" It was TS, who is Jeremy London's character. It was TS and Brody. And
they're like the main characters, basically. TS is technically the main character of this movie because it starts with him. He pulls up to his girlfriend's house. And they're going to go on a trip, but Trouble in Paradise, Brandy can't go. And the reason is her father has a dating show that he's trying to get off the ground. And they had somebody that was going to be on it, one of the female contestants. But unfortunately, TS talked to her the night before. He said something about the camera adding 10 pounds. And this chick heard that, had a freak out, went to swim laps, and swam so many fucking laps, Steve, she had an embolism in the pool and she fucking died. She's fucking dead? His reaction is so great, dude.
And he's got to take that to the grave with him.
I mean, it is what it is, but now she's going to stay because they were going to go to Florida, Steve. They had this whole trip going and she was going to go, but now she's going to be on her dad's show to help him out because he's in a bind. And TS, I could see being pissed. But he takes it hard. Let's put it like that.
Because she just left him, man. Like, she's acting all bratty about it. Like, man, fuck your dad's show. Like, what the fuck does that have to do with you? Like,
yeah, it's also a dating show. I'd be like, what, you want to fucking go out on a date? What the fuck's going on here?
Last I checked, you're not applicable to be on a date. Bitch, you mine.
Yeah. And also, part of this is, while this is happening and they're having an argument, Michael Rucker plays Brandy Svenning's father. And he's up in his room, coming fresh out of shower. He's still kind of air drying, and he gets into some really intense karate stretches and exercises, and gets into a full blown karate stance naked. He's an intense guy. Let's put it like that.
Yeah, it's pretty intense.
He's out there, and I love me some Michael Rucker, Steve. I mean, he's still going. He's famous as fuck now for many reasons, but back then he was one of these he was just like a bit player, like a guy you'd see in a lot of movies, but he wasn't like necessarily famous. And this was always hilarious. This intense like action movie guy being in this weird Kevin Smith movie. I love it.
And like you said, he's got the dating show set up. He's got a security guard at the mall named LaFours. And, he's got a history himself. He didn't caught a couple bodies. He might have served some time, for some unlawful shit, but that's not on the record here or there. And then of course we got Jay and Silent Bob, man, and their purpose is to help our what do you call our heroes or whatever.
Our protagonists, Steve. They're chaos. They are chaos, but they're like a weapon of chaos that our heroes use every once in a while, maybe to cause a diversion or get something done that is a little shady, like maybe tear apart a stage or get a guy high that they need to, it's very Mission Impossible-esque mixed with Cheech and Chong energy. It's great.
Yeah, they have about a 50-50 success rate.
Yeah, and we all let us not forget Brody. We introduced TS and Brandy and their issues, and then we meet Brody, who wakes up in bed with Shannon Doherty, whose name is Renee in this. They're a thing, or were a thing. But Brody's like the comic book nerd. TS is the sexy, and Brody's like the comic book nerd. He's the Randall, if you're, he's like the Randall character if you're looking at Clerks. He's the slacker, slick talking dude. And to be honest, when I was young and I was watching this, he's the guy I wanted to be a Brody-esque character. That's what I wanted to be like, He's a good role.
We all wanted to. Yeah.
And he's getting Shannon Doherty, Steve, but they get in a fight too, because basically he's a man-child. He's living with his mom. He makes her sneak into like a window, and I don't know what age they are, but they're not in high school, Steve. These are mid-20s people, I think. So they get
but old enough to try to figure out what the fuck you want to do and get out of your mom's basement. And she leaves him, and she ends up getting with the guy that does that works at the clothing store in the mall, played by Ben Affleck. And
Fashionable Male is the store, Steve. It's the upscale male. It's a little deluxe male outfitter, and Ben Affleck's a deluxe male.
Yeah, and Brody already doesn't like him, and he's just like, man, the guy doesn't like him either, and Brody doesn't understand why, and he'll find out later, because hilarity ensues, yada yada yada. There were some diversions made. For one, Brody wanted to get his ex into the elevator so he can bang her one more time. She wasn't impressed. They get off the elevator, and before what's Ben Affleck's character's name?
It's something weird. I just keep calling him Ben Affleck in my notes, or the guy from the fashionable male store. But he's like an intense bro guy who got a job at a mall, like tuxedo store or some shit.
Is it Shannon?
Yeah, it's something like that. It's like a female name, you know. But I think it is Shannon. So yeah, that
Yeah.
was a funny bit where, you know, they somehow TS is like the diversion, and he swings around out unnoticed and swoops the chick into the fucking elevator, stops it, locks it, fucks the chick, gets out. You know, this all happens at a mall, Steve.
Yeah.
Going on, because that's really what happens. These two best friends, they get in some girl problems, and where do you go, Steve? In the 90s, there's no. I can't get on Instagram. I go to the fucking mall. So they go to the mall, and that's where we meet all these characters. Jay and Silent Bob are right there. They're fucking around with cats, and I love their introduction too, because they're just like, they make the X-Men references. Jay's acting all fucking crazy. Silent Bob's trying to do the Jedi mind trick on the fucking cigarette and shit.
He's like fucking MacGyver. No, he's better than MacGyver.
Yeah, when he's doing the Jedi mind trick, like just the references, the writing in this, like Brody's like, what the fuck is he doing? And Jay's like, fucking Lunchbox watched Empire last night, and he's trying to do the fucking Jedi mind trick. Snoogans. It's just weird shit. It's so weird, dude. So now they're in the mall, and one thing that as they're going, Brody's like the mayor of the mall. He knows everything about the mall. He loves the mall. And as they're walking, there's this big stage being erected in the middle of his mall. He's like, what the fuck's going on here? They talk to Ethan Suplee, who's in the middle. His whole thing in this movie is he's trying to look at this magic eye. And for the goddamn life of him, he was there the day before and he couldn't figure it out. And he said he's coming to this mall today and he's going to see this shit. If he brought a lunch, it might take that long, Steve. So they see him doing that, and they're like, what's going on with this fucking stage, dude? And he tells him that, you know, Brandy's dad, who has this dating show, the dating show is happening in the mall. So, oh shit. Now they have the mission, Steve. Sabotage that. And that's basically this whole movie, is that.
Yeah.
Rutger's all fucking, he doesn't like TS. We find out later that he really just doesn't like TS either. Like, this is like his scheme to get TS away from his daughter. In one of the greatest moments of this movie, TS gets cornered by this dad, or goes to talk to the dad. And Brody's been eating chocolate covered pretzels. And right before this, he's like, you know what you need to do to this guy? Put your hand like deep in your ass. And when he goes to shake your hand, shake his hand. He's going to be left with a lot of ass on that hand. So he gives him that knowledge. But then, you know, he has an ass hand. And he's watching TS. Yeah, his stink palm. And he's watching TS talk to the dad, and the dad's a real ass. Like, Michael Rooker's like, listen, motherfucker. He's full Rooker, and he's like, you're gonna stay away from my daughter. It's real weird.
He looks like a Rooker.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. He's really, sounds like he's busting a lot. He's really fucking intense. But Brody sees this, and he's the ultimate, he is a great wingman, or like best friend, because he swoops in. He's like, hey. And I think he lives next to Brandy.
That's his
like
neighbor.
Their neighbor.
Yeah.
So they know each other. He's like, Mr. Svenning. And he throws down that palm, and he really greases Svenning's palm with that ass hand.
With dookie sweat. Yeah.
And I love when they're shaking hands like Burt Reynolds and shit. You know?
Yeah.
There's a lot of that stuff. But he gives, you know, Svenning the stink palm. Then he gives him a nice, like, smeary chocolate covered pretzel. And it's a lot of.
Yeah, there's a close up on his lips and shit. He got all that chocolate smeared on his shit. Yeah, and you know, eventually the dating show gets spoiled because the original contestants, you know, Jay gets them high, and they're replaced by TS and Brody. And you know,
all it took was a fat chronic blood.
And long story short, they eventually get back together with their girlfriends. You know, Shannon, the character played by Ben Affleck, he gets blackmailed, basically put on blast right as he's about to punch out Brody. like the footage of him fucking one of the girls, Trish the Dish.
Yeah, dude, that was a weird storyline. Kendra was in the room. She's like, wait, and she had never seen this. She's like, wait, what? Because essentially, Trish the Dish is like a 15-year-old chick who's a senior, and she's doing some kind of thesis about male sexuality, and she's fucking and videotaping herself fucking these guys. And apparently Shannon, Ben Affleck is one of those people. So we get to see him. And the other thing that keeps getting brought up about Ben Affleck, and he even admits it wholeheartedly, he likes to get chicks on a rebound when they're really, susceptible to suggestion, and use that to fuck chicks in the butt. He's really into fucking a chick in the butt, and it's his thing, Steve.
And he's also 25, and Trish the Dish is 15, like you said. And the footage that they show, like right as he's about to punch out Brody, is hilarious because he's just
call me daddy, call me Joey.
Who's your favorite new kid? And so
don't make me get loose now.
And now that's about 5 to 10, sir.
Yeah, I mean, that's another great part about this movie. They wrap it all up, TS and Brandy get married at Disneyland because he was going to propose too. That was the other thing. So he makes that happen. They get married where Jaws pops out of the water at the Universal tour. Brody, because he's so good, essentially at the end of this movie, they hijack the show. So TS and Brody make it on the show, and Brody is so magnetic. He basically completely monopolizes the show. He shits on Dante from Clerks, who looks like some sort of B-rate hockey player, frat brother. Gil Hicks is his name. Yeah. He shits all over him. He shits all over everything. And at the end, he replaces Jay Leno on the Tonight Show, Steve. He gets the gig.
Renee as the leader of the band, or the drummer in the band.
Yeah, Shannon Doherty gets a gig. Jay and Silent Bob walk off in the sunset with a monkey named Suzanne, which I think maybe they did only because they got the Weezer song rights.
Yeah.
I don't know what came first there. But I fucking loved it, Steve. This movie's hilarious. And Kevin Smith, I don't know. I checked out after Red State, but even that movie, he's made himself famous for being him. And we're doing a podcast, and I think he's right up there in the Mount Rushmore of podcasters because he not glommed onto it. He adopted that. He started doing podcasts. He wasn't one of the first, but he's still doing it, and he's great at it. And he has a lot of expertise in comics, movies, and is somebody I can just get lost watching him on YouTube when talking about Marvel movies or whatever, because he is really fun to listen to.
And also, speaking of Marvel, there was a cameo by Stan Lee, who gives Brody some advice. His to a comic book collector and reader, that is one of the gods.
And it was great. And they actually reference this in a Marvel movie too, which was in a shitty one. It's in a movie, Captain Marvel. They show him on a subway in the Marvel universe going to shoot this, and he's reading the lines from Mallrats, which I thought was cool. But love his look in Mallrats because he looks like he owns a yacht. He looks like a rich.
He does.
Like the rich guy, the millionaire guy from Gilligan's Island, like one of those.
Oh, love it.
Oh God, so beautiful.
And they filmed this in Eden Prairie, Minnesota, down the road from Fargo, which was shooting at the same time.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. I also shout out to the three-nippled gypsy topless fortune teller that they feature in this movie. I think she's a famous porn star, but weird little scene that I thought was hilarious.
Yeah. How can you not see it?
That's disgusting. What are you fucking? That's what I'm saying. When you watch this movie, Brody to me he's funny constantly. He'll just react to shit. He has these hilarious opinions and reactions, and Yeah, dude. Jason Lee, I feel like of everybody in this movie, especially, just killed it. He annihilates being in a Kevin Smith movie, no matter what he does.
And from what I read, the T-shirt that he's wearing, it's a morph of all of the actors who auditioned for that role of Brody.
I didn't even realize that. I didn't know. See, you
Another
got
fun
some
fact.
good ass facts in this, Steve.
Yeah,
Fucking
I've been
killing
reading,
you.
man. But in October 20th, 1996, In Your House, Buried Alive is aired on pay-per-view through WWF. It took place at Market Square Arena in Indianapolis, Indiana, where the Pacers play. And it consisted of 3 extra dark matches that I believe aren't shown on the re-airs. But the main event was a Buried Alive match between The Undertaker and Mankind, which was the first ever Buried Alive match held by WWF. And the undercard, Sid faced Vader for #1 contender for the WWF strap.
I love Paul Bearer in the moon. That's haunting. God. I mean, I don't remember Buried Alive match, Steve. How did they pull that one off? I don't remember that. Or they got
Well,
like some sort of dirt mound in the fucking outside the ring or something?
Well, it took some
Oh.
assistance. It took some assistance. Hunter Hearst Helmsley and a couple of other wrestlers, they participated and helped Mankind because it was one of those like, oh, Undertaker, he's just stronger than any human force. It takes several men to overtake him. You can't overtake him. He's the Undertaker. But this was the first pay-per-view that didn't have the WWF champion on the card at all.
Oh wow. Who was the WWF champion at the time?
At the time, it was Shawn Michaels and Sid Vicious. He ended up beating Big Van Vader, and he would face Shawn Michaels and eventually be the champion in his first reign. But what's also notable is this is the debut of Stone Cold Steve Austin's Hell Frozen Over music, featuring the infamous Shattered Glass. So it's a little fun fact about In Your House 11, Buried Alive. Yeah.
That was like one of 15 main event Mankind Undertaker extravaganzas. I mean, they were really leaning heavy on those two guys. They were like, please, we need some blood here, guys.
I will say that
throw them off the cell.
Yeah, that's probably my favorite Undertaker beef.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, dude, I know this. There's a lot of wrestling aficionados that probably would disagree, but I never got into the Kane thing as much. I respect him, I get it, but I don't know. I never got into it. And you're right, Mankind for sure. He was a great nemesis, and I love watching Mankind because at first it was just creepy, but he found a way to make even like him in some weird S&M mask like endearing and like kind of fun, you know?
You felt sorry for him.
A little bit, but then like he had like the Sacco thing and he was kind of goofy and shit, and even that was fun. But it was just crazy to me, like for him, when did he make the decision to be one guy or the other, like a Dude Love or Cactus Jack or a man? Like when did, because for a while he was doing like multiple guys, I feel like at one time.
Yeah, it was probably around this time. This is 96. So no, you know what? Probably with about a year or so later. That's when he started doing the multiple characters, man.
Mick, you gotta get out there, bud. Ratings are going down. Who else you got? Fucking God, what a legend. But Sid Vicious, am I surprised he beat Big Van Vader? No, he's psychotic. So Psycho against Big Van.
Someone who probably didn't watch Buried Alive In Your House 11 was probably Braves Andrew Jones, because he was the youngest player to homer in a World Series. Jones made his MLB debut that day, in that season, and he became the youngest player to hit a home run in the postseason and the second to ever hit his first 2 World Series at bats.
Is this Chipper Jones?
Andrew Jones.
Oh, okay. Those are 2 different people, obviously.
But Chipper Jones was on that team. I believe
okay.
that was his rookie year.
Confusing, but look at this, man. That's gotta be fucking crazy just to get to a World Series and then you just blast out. You're like, this shit's easy. It's talking about this is nothing.
Seriously. But in 1998, October 20th, Vanilla Ice releases his album Hard to Swallow. And what they needed to call this shit was hard to listen to because, despite being produced by Ross Robinson was the king of new metal around this time. Some of the albums that he produced, Korn, self-titled album, Adrenaline by Deftones, Life is Peachy by Korn, $3 Bill Y'all, Limp Bizkit, and Slipknot's self-titled album. But he tried his hand at Hard to Swallow, and he was advised to not do that by different people around him in his circle. Hey, man, this might fuck up your brand by fucking with Vanilla Ice. He said, no, man, me and him are good buds. I'm gonna do my magic and watch things work. And well, by all accounts, this was considered by the AV Club to be one of the least essential albums of the decade of the 90s. I didn't even know there was a least essential list. I knew there was a most essential list. We talk about those albums from time to time, but to be on the least essential list of albums, Vanilla Ice, Hard to Swallow. Damn, that's hard to swallow.
Yeah.
For Vanilla Ice.
I don't want to shit on Vanilla Ice because respect to Ice Ice Baby and respect to Ninja Rap on Ninja Turtles 2, the movie, because that's where I choose to remember Vanilla Ice, Steve. That era. It's getting weird. This is like when Tommy Lee made Methods of Mayhem, tried to do that shit, and it was like, all right, dude, let's get your dick out.
One of the releases on Too Hard to Swallow was Too Cold, which was a heavy metal version of Ice Ice Baby.
Yeah, I think he was just sort of trying to figure it out. I think Vanilla Ice has sort of figured it. Robert Van Winkle, I don't know what he's going by now, but he's got like a home improvement thing, but in the 90s, he was just trying to cling to anything he could. I think he was on Surreal Life, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, he was trying to do that shit, so he made an album. Steve, have I listened to it? No.
I tried to.
You just couldn't make it through at all. There was nothing redeemable about it, Steve? Nothing.
No. I mean, and he made the claim, like when he was being compared to the contemporaries of the time, Limp Bizkit and Korn, he was like, well, I never even listened to him until after we made this album. But I shit you not, Matt. The first fucking track on Too Hard to Swallow is it sounds like B-sides of a Korn song. He's doing the
no, you can't do that.
No, exactly. That's Jonathan Davis copyright shit.
You can't do the Jonathan Davis scat.
But apparently he's never heard of it until after this album.
Yeah, I've listened to it today, but not when we were recording. I didn't know about that.
Yeah, just like you're from the hood, Robert Van Winkle. But also in 1998, Fatboy Slim releases "You've Come a Long Way, Baby."
No, I'm not a Fatboy Slim fan. Even back then, I was speaking out heavily against this. I didn't like this.
Wow, is it because you hated life at the time, Matt? And it's okay. I understand.
I still do, Steve, but less. But even now, even with a better attitude, I'm still not fucking with Fatboy Slim.
The fucking video Spike Jonze directed, fucking don't shit on, like, look.
Spike is it Jones the one with Chris Walken? I mean, I like the video. I like the video, but the fucking song, I'm not gonna listen to the song. I can mute it.
Dude, see, like, I'm sorry.
You don't like this shit, Steve. You don't fucking like Fatboy Slim, Steve.
I fucks with Norman Cook, man. The fucking, all the tracks on there, I added just about every track to my playlist, man. The Rockefeller Skank, Gangster Trippin'. He got a track called Gangster Trippin'. Praise You. I'm gonna praise you like I should. That shit goes hard like a motherfucking
It's not my thing. I mean, different strokes for different folks, Steve. I listen to Prodigy if I want to listen to house music, not this.
Prodigy is like industrial. I fucks with Prodigy too. I'm the fire starter. I'm the instigator. I fuck with that shit too. But Norman Cook, come on, bro. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. He's
Mm,
a predecessor of that EDM shit, man. Put some respect on Norman Cook's name.
okay. My apologies, Norm. My apologies.
I know what it was. You don't like the original cover of this album. You've come a long way, baby. This was the original cover,
Yeah,
and it struck a
probably,
chord.
Steve. I couldn't buy that. You think everybody
Struck a
will buy
chord.
that? That looks like some shit I would have bought as a fat person too. I bought those like spicy t-shirts, which is stupid. I was not a good fat person, Steve. I needed to step it up a little bit.
Hey, you worked for me, buddy. But in that same day, someone who probably didn't buy any of that shit in 1998, October 10th, 20th, comedian Richard Pryor, because he was getting celebrated, baby, for the first ever Kennedy Center Mark Twain Prize for American humor.
I love watching these. There's been a few fun ones. I don't remember seeing any clips of this, but who doesn't love Richard Pryor? This is when it was getting less fun, I think. You know, near the end of his career, it was sort of getting tragic a little bit. But dude, the dude is a legend.
Yeah, he didn't really do much around this time, but like I said, this was the first one, and this was when they were airing them on Comedy Central. Now they air them on PBS, and the people that were there to honor him were Chris Rock, Robin Williams, Whoopi Goldberg, Chevy Chase, Tim Allen, Danny Glover, Damon Wayans, Chris Christopherson, Richard Belzer, Morgan Freeman, Ruth Brown, Dick Gregory, and Gene Wilder appeared on a pre-tape video.
I was gonna
Um,
say, where's Gene at? You got these guys. They built some of those movies. Those aged great, Steve.
yeah,
Those Gene Wilder. And what's the one? Hear No Evil, See No Evil. I always used to love watching that shit on Comedy
same
Central.
here.
That
Uh,
was a good team up.
and I mean one of the greats, man, as far as like comedic duos. Um, and I mean it's only right, man. I mean they would have gave one to George Carlin. He denied it. A couple of comedians denied the Mark Twain Award, and he was one of them. He denied it about two or three times. And when he was finally about to be awarded for it, he had passed away in 2008, just like a couple weeks before the ceremony. Um,
Yeah. He knew he didn't need it. It's like even Richard Pryor. He's like, yeah, whatever. I'll come to this shit. I know.
yeah. Just solidified, man. But
Yeah.
any callbacks, come rags, honorable mentions, my good sir.
Just more Kevin Smith just gushing. Check out Dogma. Check out Mallrats. Check out his whole catalog. But if you love this show, you love the '90s. And if you're not familiar with Kevin Smith, you're losing out because I feel like he inspired me to not only just be like try to like do nerdy shit. Like he encouraged being a nerd and like made that kind of cool. But he also encouraged budget, friendly, low budget filmmaking, like people that were maybe amateurs. It gave you his story sort of inspired me to want to try to make movies. And I think was really cool because he was one of those people like Robert Rodriguez that kind of let you see how the sausage got made. He would do a lot of behind the scenes stuff and talk about it. And that's what I really love about Kevin Smith. It's more about just hit, which is really a compliment to him. It's just like he's such a cool guy. Like even if his movies weren't things that I have great memories of, I'd still fucking fuck with him because he's just an entertaining dude.
I agree, man. And that's part of my takeaway too. I want to give a shout out to Kevin Smith because he is a legend of the 90s. And not only did he influence me as far as taste in film and comedy, he kind of influenced my outlook in life, man, because like you said, he kind of urged us nerds to be like, dude, it's okay. Like you can be into these things that are so-called nerdy, but you can still be a cool dude. And by all accounts, Kevin Smith has always been a cool guy to me. Jay and Silent Bob, all of his movies from Clerks to Dogma, Chasing Amy, man. Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. Me and you went and saw that, man, our first week at Bowling Green.
Hell
And
yeah, dude.
definitely, man. So like for the people who watch us and listen to us, man, if you haven't checked out Kevin Smith, especially his stuff in the 90s, please do so. And I also want to call attention to In Living Color in 1991, season 3, episode 5. They're doing another Cephas and Reese skit, and they're at a bar mitzvah. And as you would assume, hilarity ensues. And please like, share, subscribe, comment. And please tell your sister, we didn't know she was 15. She looked 36. Please check out Over the Culture on Sundays, Crushgasm on Wednesdays, B3F Podcast with Joey and Steve, and Don't Worry, Be Movie with Amanda and Wade. This is Steve G and Matt G with Happened in the 90s.
Shut up, bitch!